All right, you guys, welcome to our next section of our VIP Summit. There's my Amberly. Hi. How are
How's the
you?
sound? I'm good.
You
Can you
sound
hear
great.
me? Okay.
Yep, I'm going to introduce you really quick, and then I am going to tell and then I'm going to just jump off so that everybody can just see you. So, you guys, I have to tell you this amazing thing. By the way, Amberly is going to be helping us during certification. So I'm really excited about that.
Yay!
But I wanted to tell them how we met. So Amberly and I met back in August in Cabo. We were both brand new students in a business coaching program. And I think I have told this story on here before. I've already bragged on you, Amberly, but I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
I walk in late to the welcome dinner. And it's so fancy. Like everybody's dressed fancy. Everybody is seated at tables. They've already like been up and been mingling and gotten their food, and everybody's seated. And I walk in the room and nobody looks up, or maybe they look up, but nobody comes over. So I walk into the room and I'm kind of, you know what that feeling is like you're in a brand new place, you don't know a soul. And I start walking around and I'm not sure what to do with myself. And I'm just looking for an empty seat. There's no empty seats in the whole place. So guess who comes over so kindly to rescue Miss Edie? That would be Amberly. She comes over and she goes, "Oh, hey," and she just pretends like somebody's put her on assignment to make me feel welcome and to help me find a place. There was actually nowhere to sit. So she says, "Oh, well, I hope you get some food, and then we'll go over here and sit in in this little area and it'll be fine." And we became fast friends, and I love her so much. I'm so grateful for how she ministered to me. I'm so grateful. She did do it. There you are, Jan. And I'm so grateful that you're going to get to meet her, not just now, but those of you who are doing certification, Amber is going to be coaching during that time. So we are so excited. So Amberly, before you start your talk, can you just give everybody kind of an introduction to you, whatever you want to say or whatever?
Yes. Well, first of all, I feel like I'm supposed to have on like some funky, cute glasses. Didn't
All
get
the
the
old
memo.
women do.
I mean, I have my readers. I just got diagnosed with readers. But I feel like I also need to explain my non-cute background, because y'all have these like cute backgrounds, to be super, what's the word I'm looking for? Superficial, if you will. True. I do have the big earrings. Thank you, Corey. But if you read my bio, we actually, in fact, did move from the suburbs of Atlanta just this past summer to a small town in South Carolina. And we are building. So we are temporarily living in my mother-in-law's lake house. So this is honestly the best option because everything else is like super knick-knacky. So anyway, so that's that. But yes, were you supposed to go away? Did something happen? Am I just moving? Okay. So yes, today I am going to, in fact, share with you from my story, God's story, honestly. Nobody also told me to bring tissues. So this has already been happening and now it's going to keep happening. But I love this community. We just do this together, cry and rejoice and encourage. So thank you for letting me be here. I'm truly, truly honored and grateful to share this with you and be part of the certification and everything else. So back to my bedridden anxiety and depression, to stepping into who God created me to be so I could do what he called me to do so that you can too. I honestly felt like I should say, "Good morning, dear hearts," because don't you just love those sweet words you hear from your coach? Honestly, the entire team. I got an email from Angela who also said something about dear heart. And so I kind of feel like I am missing something. I normally start off an email or a voice memo, as Edie and I had gone back and forth about. I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, okay, so guess what?" And then I'll like ramble on. And then she will like voice memo back something that's like not even a formal conversation, but be like, well, good morning, dear heart. So anyway, I feel like I'm missing out on proper greetings in life. So let me introduce myself, dear hearts. I am indeed Amberly Devers. I am a certified Christian life coach, and I help other female Christian life coaches start and scale their calling to coach others, whether it be in relationship or marriage or parenting or fitness or nutrition, wherever it is that the Lord has called them. But I have not always done this. Actually, about 6 years ago, maybe it was a little more, I get a little lost on time. I was bedridden with anxiety and depression. I had birthed 4 children in about 5 years, and then we adopted our 5th shortly thereafter, which is another story, if you're part of that world, that I would love to share at some point. And so then I was, the stay-at-home mom, the homeschooling mom of 5 kids in a 7-year span of life. And so currently my children are 14, 13, 11, 9, and 7. And I have been married to what I call the backbone of my journey, the one who believed in me way before I ever did. And that will be 17 years on this New Year's Eve, which, by the way, I can have that same list, even though he's so amazing. So just wanted to throw that out there. So all of my life, I dreamed, or is it dreamt, of being a stay-at-home mom to a house full of kiddos. I had essentially become an only child when my only sibling went to college when I was 7. And so I was like, I want more people all the time. P.S. Do you know how quiet that only child home is versus this current home? So anyway, here I was. Sorry, I do a lot of hand motions. I was 37 years old. I had 5 children, and I had come to the end of myself. And that has happened often in my journey of sanctification and salvation and all of those things. But at this point in my journey, I had to admit, I finally admitted, was really honest, that I was not the mom I had hoped to be. I could not live up to the expectations that I had set for myself. And like maybe some of you, I'm sure, I couldn't live up to the wife I desired to be either, for that matter. The truth was, I actually didn't enjoy it the way I thought. It was too hard. It was too exhausting. It was too loud. And it was too like constantly needing of me, children and husband. And I could not measure up to those standards that I had set for myself. So in these God-given roles, which then brought on its own layer of Christian woman guilt. And I feel like I'm missing out in the comments in here. These conversations seem fun. I'll have to go back. But anyway, so from the outside, you would not have known. I was leading Bible studies, and I was starting ministry groups, and I was hanging out with friends, and I was doing girls' weekends, and I was going to the play dates, all the normal things. But secretly, I was battling anxiety and depression so intense that I spent most of the time we were at home in bed. And side note, I didn't realize at that time that I thought depressed people like cried all the time and were super sad, and that may be how it shows up for some people, but it didn't for me. It showed up as like exhaustion and lack of motivation and procrastination and some other things. So anyway, when we would finally get home, I was like, I have got to be home by 1 o'clock, because from 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock, everybody's going to be in the bed. And then I'm going to like do the snack thing and the show thing and like the go outside thing. And then Bray will be home, and then I can get back in the bed. So anyway, I would literally have to like be in the bed to just try to recover from all the peopling that had gone on, hoping that a long nap would be the cure, hoping to wake up with the desire to fix that snack and enjoy my kids and authentically smile. So spoiler alert, all the sleeping never helped. Sure, I would change diapers and create cute little muffin tins with these thematic, lunches for the kids, and have a movie picnic. but every single day felt like a mountain I couldn't climb. And I would meet with the Lord in the morning during this sacred time of scripture reading and journaling and praying and lots of coffee, and just plead with the Lord to help me get through the day, and not just get through the day, but like actually enjoy these things, this life I had prayed for. So I was overwhelmed. I was defeated. I was disappointed that I just wasn't this person that I had dreamt like all my life, and prayed to be. And so I became a Christian at 19. And so if that's where you find yourself, I just want you to know that you're not alone and there is hope and you matter to God, and He truly has the power to do for you what you've never been able to muster up on your own. I want you to have courage and know that He is coming for you. I'm so grateful that y'all have this community of Life Mentoring School and the things you're learning there and practicing, because that is the way to this. That is the way out of that, I promise. So it was back at that time in 2015 that after medication and tons of counseling and talk therapy and EMDR, if you've ever had that, and psychiatrist appointments to get the medication, the whole hoops, the planning for childcare, the driving to them. It was just a whole thing. I'm like, hello, I already said I was exhausted. But anyway, all of that was what I called decent for me. It was crucial at that time. It definitely brought me to a better level of life functioning, if you will, but none of it was life changing. It was at that time that I decided to do a program called Celebrate Recovery. You may or may not have heard of it. It was at my previous church. It's actually a faith-based 12-step program. I come from a long line of addicts and other things. So this was not new to me. I just didn't think it was like for me, it was for everybody else. But I learned it's not actually for addicts or substance abusers or anything like necessarily that, or the families of those that struggle. But it was actually for everyday people like you and me, that may struggle with sadness or procrastination or overeating or undereating or envy or discontent or disappointment, people pleasing, like you name it. And so it was in this program that I discovered something I had been missing all along, which was this ability to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. Now, not necessarily in my belief system overall, in my faith or salvation or spiritual walk as a Christian, but in the everyday things of life. Because when you struggle with anxiety or you just struggle with depression, you've just got a constant thought reel going through your mind at all times. And I didn't know, I needed something extra to do with that. And so like it just in the everyday things of life. It's a concept I refer to in my teaching as the little T truths. So sure, the Lord was faithful, spit everywhere, to sustain and sanctify me when I leaned on Him for patience and holding my tongue from anger. But a lot of it felt like suppressing, this guilty feeling for feeling the way I felt. And the secret to not suppressing is being honest and aware of those thoughts and of those feelings. I seriously learned so much during that time at Celebrate Recovery. It was truly the beginning at that time for me of taking thoughts captive on this newer and deeper level, since I had become a Christian at 19. And it was finally this way to experience peace from a power greater than me in a new way. Because truly, it was the beginning that I was mustering up. You may find yourself doing that. I'm sure Edie teaches on this, that like we can't do this in our own strength. That's why thought work combined with Jesus is the power source out into the world to be who God has called you to be and who I have called to be. But it was the beginning of this thought changing work. And I was like, finally, something to do with all this? I've had no clue. I mean, I've read all the books, I've listened to the podcast. I'm like, my knees were raw from like pleading, help me, Jesus, please. But this was the beginning of stepping into who God did and didn't create me to be. Because you know who he didn't create me to be was this person who thought so negatively about myself and my life. But it didn't happen overnight, right? It was recognizing and truly believing that all the mom that I was, and I want you to hear this if this is where you find yourself struggling as a mom, but all the mom I was, which still felt like didn't measure up, right? But that's who it was. That's all the mom I was. And all the mom that I wasn't, and all the wife I was, and all the wife I wasn't, was the mom and the wife that God had created for my kids and my husband. It was, in fact, true that nothing had gone wrong with me. I was exactly who and where God had created me to be. And so I was, for the first time, finally learning to just rest in being me, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. So when the weight of these thoughts for so long finally lifted, I actually had energy again. I began taking care of myself physically. I started walking 10,000 steps per day. Then I started running. I ran 6 miles on Thanksgiving of 2018. Just newsflash, I have not run a mile since then. The point here is that I did something that I couldn't do, and you can too. And so I'd found at this time this online fitness and nutrition program. It helped me shed the rest of the 25 pounds that depression had given me. And I loved that program so much that I found myself just sharing it with people. And so I then became certified in this program to coach it. And within 10 months, had created a 6-figure business online. I was like, what? So guess what I realized? This former educator and stay-at-home mom who literally never once balanced a checkbook. I still haven't. I'm 43. I've never balanced a checkbook. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, I enjoyed business and numbers and marketing and like financial milestones and helping people and leading a team and getting paid. And it was so fun. And I was doing it from home, and I was homeschooling my kids. I wasn't taking naps anymore. And I was, oh, this new creation again. And so in fact, that business grew so much and was so impactful for our family at the time. Side note, my husband was a builder in Atlanta, so we were still recovering from the crash of 2008. So this helped our family significantly, so much so that we ended up putting our 5 kids in a Christian school so I could focus on building this business while they were at school, instead of kind of in these pockets of homeschooling and then at nights and on weekends and the like that you do when you've got that side hustle. We've talked about that some, but the truth of the matter was that what made my fitness journey successful, excuse me a moment, as well as my coaching in that program, was who I had become in the process of overcoming anxiety and depression. You see, I wanted a way to add more of this heart and mind component to my coaching, because I'm like, you can do all the things, right? You can track the macros and fast and do the workout. But if you are not being transformed by the renewing of your mind, you're still not who you need to be in that process. So in 2020, I started my certification with the Life Coach School and started my own separate one-on-one general Christian life coaching business. And so surprise, once again, created another 6-figure business in 10 months. And I feel like there's a theme here, but there was a big lesson that I want to share. And that is this: in order to step into who God was calling me again, you see, he always refines the path and he makes new things clearer and clearer. And this might be in my notes, so I'll repeat it if so, but I don't want to forget right now. It was so great. I don't know where Edie shared this the other day. I don't know. I caught a glimpse of it, or a couple minutes of it about starting anew. See, I'm an army brat. So like all the things were always new, 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 new. I love new. But for a long time, and I'll get to this in a moment, I allowed starting over to mean that other thing failed or wasn't the right thing. So anyway, the big lesson here is that in order to step into who and what he was calling me to do in this new coaching my own thing endeavor, was that I had to step away from what he wasn't calling me to do anymore. That can be just as hard, right? The stepping into who he is calling us to be and the stepping away from who he isn't. And so I was petrified. I was scared of not being able to replace that income. I was scared I couldn't do it. I was scared to shift my messaging to my audience, all of it. But I was reading this book at the time and I realized something huge. And that was what pushed me over the cliff of compromise into the courage that I needed. And it was the conviction that here I was, 42 at the time, and I was scared to walk where God was leading me as an adult. And so now with 5 children, my older 3 are girls. And so they were stepping into being teenagers and tweenagers. And I thought, how in the world am I going to disciple them into the hard places that God would ask them to go in their faith, in their friendships, whatever their path is for the next, 8 to 10 years, if I wasn't? It was bone chilling, like really bone chilling. And it was like that final push, because I had been just contemplating this probably for like 2 or 3 years. That's a really long story we don't have time for, but it was like that final push when you have no more in labor, except I actually had 4 C-sections. So I don't really know, but I've been in the room. I was actually in the room when our youngest was adopted. And I remember thinking, glad I didn't do that. But anyway, you get the point. I was the only one who could do this, to get this baby out into the world, my like business baby, if you will. And so I literally jumped. And it was more like a polar plunge than off of an exotic rock in the tropics, but I did it. And so whatever it is for you, you can too. And I can now forever tell this story to my girls. I'm actually speaking at something, which, side note, just so everybody knows, I have not spoken at anything since 2001. So it was funny when Angela was like, well, give Amberly a minute to catch her breath and calm her nerves. I was like, how did you know? I was actually really excited this was virtual. But anyway, and so this really makes me tear up, is I'm bringing them with me to this event. And I feel so grateful and privileged that they get to see that, I walked out some hard places in shifting and in this calling that God was calling me to, but I will relate to them and they will relate to me, unless they go off the deep end. I don't know. But anyway, so over the last year, I have coached Christian women who are or were overwhelmed, burnt out, anxious, struggling to have peace and calm in their life or their business or their work. And like I shared earlier about God refining our calling, like I said, doesn't mean that the thing before it or this was the wrong thing. God has most recently refined and revealed even more about who he has and hasn't created me to be. I'm currently building and launching a program for other Christian women who are coaching or have an idea and have kind of gotten started and need help creating this peaceful and profitable business. Because here's the thing, nothing that God calls you to do. I liked when Edie mentioned, like, we make these sacrifices, right? But what we don't have to sacrifice is the presence with our people, the presence in our lives. We overachievers and get excited about what God's calling us to do. And so we just like throw all caution to the wind and we'll stay up till 2 a.m. making a Canva graphic or writing something. And it's like, no, we probably should be sleeping, right? Because that's not giving our best to our family at 6 a.m. when we have to have breakfast and go to school and all those things. And so I actually discovered, I started working with a coach myself back in January. And I was like, look, I cannot do it the way I did before. And if I have to do it that way, I'm not willing to do it. And so over the last year, I have had this, one-on-one coaching business that was literally from a place of peace and calm. My husband actually commented on a reel I did on Instagram yesterday about that. And he was like, it is so true. You have not sacrificed your family for this. And I did before. And then, like when you were talking about single moms and you're doing what you had to do, that was necessary for our family at the time. And it was fine and great for my husband to take over at night for me. I mean, he was taking over at night when I was in the bed, anxious and depressed. So why not take over at night when I'm building something for our family that's going to be so impactful for us financially and for other people in their journey? So I did that for that period of time, but I wasn't willing to do it that way again. And I said, there has to be another way. Like there just has to be. And so that's what was so helpful with constraining my brain and committing to what I said I was going to commit to, the hours I was going to work. And just PS, if you're still working mentally, when you're not working during your hours, you're like still working and not present with your family. So that was like, I'm going to figure this out and not do it. So anyway, so that's what I do now, is working with other women who want to create something significant financially, and have an impact in the world, but without sacrificing their first priorities that God has given them in family and marriage and parenting and in all the things, because it is truly possible to have success, which PS, success isn't just numbers and dollar signs. Success is, for me, success is literally like sitting down to watch a show. Okay. I put it on my New Year's resolution list a couple of years ago to watch TV, because I can just brainstorm and write and create. So success may be like putting your phone away at 7 p.m. and not picking it up until 6 a.m. So I want you to be sure you hear me say that success is not just dollars and numbers. And I also want you to hear me say, if you are in a season where you may have to be putting forth more time and effort and sacrificing because of what's going on circumstantially in your life, and you need to, I want you to know that that is also okay, because your children, like, you have to feed the baby, right? So anyway, that's that. Let me find my place in my outline here. So yes, it's truly possible to have your business without abandoning your family. And hey, guess what? That can even be if you're not called to a business of any sort. I would find myself back in the day when I scrapbooked, because I was going to be the mom that had amazing memories for my kids so they couldn't grow up and complain about me. And so I would kind of, what's the word? Enmesh myself in that and abandon my family. So it doesn't matter what the thing is that you're called to do or create. Do it with balance, do it with peace, do it with constraint, so that you can stay present in your mind and in your heart and in your body when you're with the people you love the most. So it's from this deep sense of trust and surrender to the Lord to actually lead your calling and providing and preventing what you don't need and what you're not called to, so that you could do it peacefully and profitably, and that you're present with your family. Like I said, this can be said for in your home, in your family, in your work. You can get so caught up in, creating the perfect meal or birthday party that you find yourself not even being nice to the people you're planning for, right? So that's what we work on. Whatever your ministry is, wherever it is that God's called you to be. So with that said, I want to switch gears a little bit for some tangible action steps for you, so you can investigate the areas that I really have FOMO about the chat right now, okay? But so you can take some action steps and can investigate the areas and the ideas that you might believe God is calling you to, or He has called you to. How do you get there? What are some steps you can implement in your life today so you can step further into who He has called and created you to be, and away from what He hasn't called and created you to do or to be? So my first question would be, what are some areas, I'm just going to throw it all out there. What are some areas in which you're compromising? Maybe it's an area in which you're compromising your time. Maybe it's an area in which you're compromising truth, or maybe you're compromising trust. And I don't want you to get all like judgy and shamey about it toward yourself. I just want you to be honest. Like if you knew you were going to get there, right? Wherever there is for you in this idea or thing that you think God might be calling you to or already has, what have you been unwilling to give up to get there? I just want you to list it out, look at it, take some time later. But I do want to give you a real live person example so let me share with you for just a minute that prior to starting my one-on-one coaching business that I was talking about last year, I just saw Halloween candy. Okay, what is going on over here? I was building an online, speaking of fitness business, so think franchise or direct sales without multiple levels. And I had made so many friendships. I had grown. I had figured out marketing online. I had literally taught myself everything by way of YouTube and business workshops and modules that I would buy and read and look at, events, everything. This was my first business baby, but it wasn't mine, right? I would never call the shots. I would never be the CEO. So to step into my own thing, I had to be willing to give up a lot of security, the friendships, my headphones dying, a lot of things, the cashola, if you will. It was almost passive. And that one stung, I'll be honest, a little bit. But I was also in full awareness that the dear friendships that had developed would shift. And the other big thing for me was that the clients that I was currently coaching in that way would be receiving less valuable information from me, even on Instagram, right? I wasn't going to be sharing my food or my workouts anymore. And so those were some of the things that I was compromising. And those don't seem like super like scriptural compromises, right? Big T truth compromises, but they were securities that I wasn't willing to give up to step where God was calling me. And that was a compromise. And so the second question that I would want for you to ask yourself as it relates to stepping into this calling that God has for you, whether it be in your home in a new way, or relationships, or your life, or your business, is who do you have to become to make that possible? Funny enough, I didn't know Edie's topics, didn't know her notes, she didn't know mine. So there's a lot of like crossover here. Seems like it's meant to be. What I want you to do is make a list of the ways that person, that version of you, thinks and acts. How does this future version of you in that area that you really want to be seen by others and yourself, and most importantly, the Lord, how does that version of you show up? How does she think? How does she act? How does she do everything? It's very, very helpful that when we can look at that, it shifts our thoughts into like all the ways we're not, right? Now, I'm not getting like hippie woo-woo, like manifesty here. I'm not that type of Christian life coach. I'm actually going to get Psalm 130:90, because Psalm 139 was literally the chapter of the Bible that God assured me that my life was not a mistake. My thoughts weren't unknown to him, and neither was my future. Nothing had gone wrong. I later learned and was encouraged to believe, like truly believe, that even in my utter depths of sin and depravity and darkness and mistakes, there were sure consequences and hardships that came from that, but there was nowhere I had ever been or nowhere I will ever be. No pain, no error, no doubt or disbelief that my gracious and loving Father wasn't with me, nor will there ever be. So I actually walk my clients through a significant memorization and meditation on Psalm 139. I'm not actually reading it here with you today, but I do want you to consider writing out Psalm 139 over and over and over again. Insert your name into the places that it's relevant, because that will, I had to memorize it. from my discipleship leader. And so I still say it to this day. And there were nights and moments when I was so deep in that and dark in that depression and anxiety that like I would just be having my eyes closed and just like saying it over and over and over again. But it truly does change our self-worth and who we see ourselves as who he has created us to be. Because the truth is, we don't actually have enough power to mess things up, right? We aren't as big as we think we are. So, lastly, I would like to ask for you to make a list of the things that you can change and that you can control. Because oftentimes we ruminate over, we spend so much time ruminating over what he said or she said or they did or that happened, rather than our response to it, to them, right? Like I love what Edie said about that. What, we could make these lists about other people. We can make them about ourselves also. Because our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. I have a teaching topic in which you are the sole proprietor, like not SOLE as in an LLC, but SOUL over your life. So I would challenge you to look at the areas of your life that you need to own rather than the areas that someone else needs to own. It's not really any of our business, right? That's God's business. So what are those areas? What does it look like for you to move forward from there in how you are thinking? And okay, so let me just check my time. I know I'm not over my time because I was like speaking really quickly. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, perfect. I'm doing so well. I'm so proud. Okay, so here's what you must know. You can never, this is so hilarious, Edie. You can never how before you who. It is the who before the how. That's a principle that I teach and coach also. I've mentioned to you already Psalm 139 and being aware of how the future version of yourself thinks and acts and shows up. But it's also about overcoming the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves and stepping fully into his embrace for our lives and our calling. In many ways, that's what holds us back, just not knowing for sure where or what he's calling or leading us to. So I just want to encourage you to just take one step after another because he will show you. For me, it took 3 years. 3 years of ups and downs, more to come, I'm sure. Along the way, I've redefined failure as actually figuring it out, trying new things, go back to what was working, troubleshoot. It has been a journey. And I know that we've just met, y'all and me, and I've only kind of given you a glimpse of my story here. But I want to go back for just a moment because I want to make sure that you don't miss something that I've said. What started with me getting out of bed and overcoming anxiety and depression and creating these two separate successful businesses weren't a snap of a finger. It's been almost 7 years, like 7. Actually, it's been more than that. It's maybe 8 or 9. 9. That's how old that child is. Okay, so it's 9. And there was so much learning and growing in those years that I literally can't get it all out of my brain to coherently share its entirety. But I do want to share this as you willingly take one step after another and God shows you and leads you. He doesn't reveal the whole thing at once. Okay. And we often take that as doubt or no, we should stop. And it might be, but most often it's not. It's us thinking that we have to have it figured out first. And so I do want to believe this if you can, more real and vulnerable for a moment. It's possible. Oh, I was thinking it was possible we would never see each other again. And then I forgot about the certification thing. So here we are. But I love y'all already. So anyway, this is actually God's story to begin with. I'm just a vessel to share it. But here's what's happened. So remember me telling you a few minutes ago that God called me to step away from compromise and into this next thing he was calling me to do, to go out on my own. And I did that for a year, told you that, okay? And now we're at the moment where he has most recently called me, we call it niching, niching, whatever you want to say, however, potato, potato, to start working with other Christian coaches to start and scale their business as well. Well, guess what? I got scared again. It wasn't the same kind of scared, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And so then one day, a couple weeks ago, I was being coached on one of my personal coaching sessions, and it was uncovered. Okay, so get ready. So unbeknownst to me, here sat 40 give or take plus years of shame and self-rejection that I didn't know was there or holding me back. And what it looked like and what it sounded like all these times of feeling like I hit this ceiling that I couldn't push through was this thought that this type of thing isn't for me. That's for those kind of people, right? They've always had what it took. It comes naturally for them, right? But like that would never be me. Like I wasn't special enough or unique enough or to have my own thing or to take what God's created and take it out into the world and do something big with it, right? Like that's just for other people with all the followers, the big platform, right? I didn't even know I had been carrying this. And so I want to share it with you because I want this same clarity and certainty for you. So, like I said, I had been wrestling and brainstorming and troubleshooting and mapping out, like whatever you want to call it, that God might be calling me to be the Christian business coach for coaches, right? So during my coaching session that I mentioned, this shame and self-rejection was uncovered. Hold on. Oh my gosh. My screen just went nutty. Yeah, I'm not Baptist, but I used to be. And so I felt like this was like the altar call and like something just really happened. I don't know, but we're back. Okay. So during this coaching session, I was mentioning that this shame and like lifelong self-rejection was uncovered. I realized that, oh my gosh, God created me for this niche, and this niche was created for me. Okay. So just like your calling has been created by God, and your calling created for you and you for it, I had this biggest amount of certainty in my life that I had almost ever experienced. I mean, apart from marriage and adoption and, you know, kind of some big life milestones like that, I hadn't experienced it like this. So I'm on this call with this coach, okay? And she asked me to describe because I was just like, oh my gosh, if you've been coached before, obviously, you have these breakthrough moments too, where you're like, your brain just like feels like it's about to explode. And I kind of wanted to get off the phone because she's not she's not like a consistent coach. She's not a Christian. And I was like, this is about to get weird. And so she asked me to describe it. I'll be honest, like I said, I felt very weird. Lesson 143, be willing to be weird, be willing to feel anything, to go where God's calling you. That's what's standing in the way. So I was just like this because I just had this literally like this image. And I promise I'm not like super hippie woo woo. Okay. Even when I later told this story to my husband, who's like super cerebral, he was like, oh, I really don't have anything to say. Like it even like got him. So anyway, she's like, the image I described to her was like for the last however many years, I've been in this dream, you know, that one you're having where you're running and like you never can get there for like years. You can't get to the end of this dream. You always wake up before you get there. And so that's kind of what my life had felt like in this next version of the calling. All those other callings and seasons were exactly where he had me. And those were similar to this, but this was like the ultimate in a way. And so it's like I kept searching for something that I didn't know was there, and I couldn't find it. And so it was this image almost of that, like, oh my gosh, I found it. Like, and so at the end of this was, and this wasn't a dream, like this was me being coached. I'm like, just like envisioning this. I'm like, she's like, well, describe. She's like, what are you thinking? Like, what's going on? Can you share it with me? And I was like, this lady, I don't think knows Jesus. She's going to be like, how'd I get this girl on the call today? But anyway, I went for it. And I was like, and so I said to her, I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost like what I imagine entering heaven to be like, where like Jesus just wraps me in his arms and it's like, ah, well done, you good and faithful servant. I'm so glad that you're here. But it was like right here on earth. And it was like just you and me, person to person. And I was like, oh my gosh, hey. And I like jumped up in his arms and he like embraced me. And I was like, I made it. I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I kept going. And it was in this moment that I like literally, this lady's listening to this too, by the way, heard this whisper and kind of this like gentlemanly chuckle. And he was like, of course you did. I knew you would. I created it this way. And that's when I realized that I didn't have to keep giving up on myself, because you will have to not give up on yourself at every different level. And that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And I was exactly who he had created me to be in all areas of my life, right? The business, the motherhood, the wife, the friendship, the ministry, all of it. Okay, it gets crazier. So the next day, one of my clients messaged me and she was like, and she's from like Louisiana. So she has the cutest, like Southern, whatever kind of voice that is. She's like, Amberly, oh my gosh, I just came across this picture on Pinterest or something. And this girl looks just like you. Okay. So I'm going to just share my screen. Like you just kind of met me and you just heard that story, right? This is what the picture she sent me. Oh gosh, I can't share. It said I could share, but the host has disabled participant screen sharing. So, oh well, if you come to my Q&A or my like breakout, I'll share it with you, but it's okay. We didn't know if it would work or not, but then it showed me that I had the option. So I was like, oh, cool, it's going to work. I'll leave it in. But yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll email it and share it. But oh, like right now? Oh, are we doing this right now? Okay. Okay. I'm feeling like super techie. What's going on here? Okay. Okay. Here it comes. It's worth it. I know we do need this picture. Sorry. I don't know who the artist is. Like y'all may be like, oh, that's like super famous. I don't know who the artist is, and but I am actually going to have this painted for my new office, because I mean, like I look at it and the hysterical thing, while we're working on that, I'll go ahead and tell you that the hysterical thing is that the title of it is like Entering Heaven or something. So after I got super excited, oh, can I show on my phone? That's a good idea. Okay, hold on. So after I saw this image and I was just like, oh my gosh, that is literally like the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And I have literally experienced a lot of crazy things in my world of like not being a Christian even. So anyway, but the title of it was it's not letting me. Okay. The title of it was Entering Heaven. So I was like, oh, wait, is this what you're calling me to? Or is this like, am I like leaving this earth? What is going on here? So anyway, so that's that. So maybe we'll get to see it, but I will describe it to you. It's literally Jesus. It is this bright and colorful, like there's like rainbows and like prisms, you know, like lighting. And the girl has blonde hair and it's pulled back kind of like in a ponytail like this. And she's doing this. Let me see if I can mimic it. She's going, and he's hugging her. And I was like, oh my word, this is crazy. So anyway, I know we're kind of running over time, so I'm going to keep going unless somebody gives me some directions. And we can, if we can show that later, we will. I'll have her email it. It'll be fun. But you get the drift. It was crazy town. Oh, can I put it in the chat, y'all? Can pictures go in the chat? You've seen that picture? Can you share it? No, we cannot do that. Okay. Well, anyway, it's a good one and we will give it to you later. So what I want you to know is that there is a calling on your life also, and it will fit like a glove. And it was created just for you. And somebody Googled it. That was smart. Just for you and you for it. It may be your motherhood. It may be homeschooling. It may be a ministry you're in or leading. It could be business. It could be any work that you do, wherever you work. That's honestly between you and God, but it's there. And I just want to encourage you to keep going. Try something new until you get there. Keep seeking, keep figuring it out. That's actually the journey that he wants you on. That's actually how you get to who and become who he has called you to be, so that you can do what he's called you to do, right? Because I know you'll get there. Keep seeking, keep figuring it out. He has actually planned it that way. That's it. Thanks for letting me be here. Now what? Am I supposed to bless the lunch? Do I need to pray? Okay.
Oh, Amberly, thank you so much. That was amazing, Mama.
Well, yay.
I think I found the picture. Let me see if I can pull it on real quick.
Okay.
Is he like, she's like jumping up in his arms?
Yes, and there's like rainbowiness.
Okay, hold on. I got it.
Let's see. I'm
If
excited.
it will let me share. Oh,
okay.
I know text sometimes it's crazy. We are going to let y'all go to lunch, but let's just see if we can see this first. Share screen. There it is. Is that it?
Yes, that's it. Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. Wow.
I know. So,
I love that image.
Yes.
Well,
everybody needs one.
We are so grateful for you. And Angela, maybe Angela can come back on and tell us lunch plans. There she is. Oh, you're muted. You're muted there.
Do I need to be here? Like leave?
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So good. I was just saying it was so good. I enjoyed that so much, Amberly. Thank you so much. So the next thing is go eat lunch. And so we do have a lunchroom set up. So I'm going to go open it, and you can eat, you can grab your lunch and jump into the lunchroom and eat together with some other VIPers. Or you can go off to yourself. The next thing you will want to do at 1:00 is jump into a breakout session. So Aline is doing a breakout session. I am doing a breakout session. Amberly is doing a breakout session. They will be recorded, so you're not going to miss anything no matter what you choose. And the subjects are on your agenda, I believe, or on your notes. So if you look in your notes, there's a subject, and also on the email I sent you this morning. So you can kind of choose, depending on where you are in your journey, you can choose whatever you want to do. And then we'll see you back for session 2.
Now they're asking, Angela, that they said the schedule says 12:30, but we're going till 1.
No, we're not. We're going to 12:30. I'm sorry. Do whatever the schedule says. Do whatever the schedule says. 12:30. We are going to meet for our breakout sessions at 12:30.
Okay. Yep. Hurry fast. Get your lunch. All right. Thank y'all. See you in a little bit.